One of the next techniques that we're going to describe to you is how to do aeration and decompaction. We found two distinct ways that work the best. I'm sure you'll probably come up with some of your own, but we found that there are two methods we use. One is incorporation, which means you have a swirling, stirring pattern in which you rotate the gun in a circular motion to be sure to include all surface material when you are aerating and decompacting. The next method that you've probably seen featured in TCIA magazine, a lot of the industry professionals will promote radial trenching. Now, this is going to give you the most direct access, as well as a visual inspection of how proliferous the roots are. Now, you've got maples that have a very dense mat of roots, which you won't have to do very much aeration and decompaction. On the other hand, you have large native hardwoods that have sometimes 6, 8, 10 inches of excess organic material that has been laid on the top. And so what you're going to want to do is radial trench. At that point, you have to make lateral passes left and right, or forwards and backwards, in as straight a line as you can possibly do, while making sure that you get down to the true ground level where the initial layer of clay, roots, and excess material transitions. And at that point, you've decided, number one, how deep you have to aerate and decompact using the stirring method, and the direct access to put biostimulants, granular inoculants, and any other supplementary material that needs to be in the radial trenches so that you have direct access to the roots. We have to consider that when you're doing trees less than 3 inches in diameter, you can also combine root collar excavations with your aeration and decompaction. One of the major advantages of our cheap to keep trees and landscapes protocol is the fact that we can combine several actions in one pass. That also means that during the consultation process, we're able to offer a cheaper price because we can combine these actions. Root collar excavations, aeration and decompaction, as well as topsoil formation is very important when offering a cheaper price, because it doesn't take any more time, any more labor, and we can do it all with the small gun. What we've done is we did a test trench to check our depth. As you've seen before, we've done a core sample and a compaction test. And what we've done is we've revealed that we've got all of these roots right next to the surface of our filled dirt, which means we've scraped off enough to get down to usable surface material. As you can see, we have started the trenching and found that the anchor was a lot closer to the surface than we originally thought. We have a prevalence of many roots here close to the surface, and that is going to cause us to change our aeration and decompaction into incorporation of native surface material. Based on what we see, we've had to talk to the owner, get his permission, and we're going to change our style of aeration. And we talked about aeration and decompaction. So now we're going to include incorporation, which is stirring, not just radial trenching in a hub and spoke pattern. Now, in the middle of the job, there's a lot of instances where you're going to have to confer with your customer. Our company likes the customer to be on site so we can discuss ongoing practices that we find, because of course we don't know what we're going to find before we do the trenching. And so when you're doing your excavation and your aeration, a lot of times you'll have to alter your plan, confer with your customer, and make sure that you have their permission to change anything that you might have written up in the original job quote. When you're on site and you have to change the plan, you have to keep in mind that the things you wrote up on the job quote is what you're supposed to follow. So if there's any alterations necessary on site, you have to keep in mind, is it going to take more time? Is it going to take more labor? And most importantly, does it change the price originally quoted? So that's why you have to make sure if any alterations to the quote that you get your customer's permission. Otherwise, you stick to the original plan, don't alter anything. Now I know this is going to sound a little bit immature to a lot of you, but there is a difference between tennis shoes, which are low cut, and a high top, high ankle support boot. Now let me give you a couple of instances. One reason is that you're going to fill it up with dirt. When you're out there aerating and decompacting, you're going to be blasting a lot of dirt, rocks, sticks, leaves, and other debris that's going to get into your boot. We use a suit. Our coverall suit has elastic closures on the ankles and the wrist. And the reason is, you all know what it's like to walk around with rocks in your shoes. Very uncomfortable and almost impossible to work in. We've also seen ankle injuries because of varying terrain that happen because guys don't wear high top boots. You have to make sure that your footing stays constant because it's always changing when you're doing aeration and decompaction. The same thing goes when you're doing topsoil. You're changing your terrain and altering the footing at every single pass. And so you have to make sure that you have proper footwear, proper clothing. In a lot of cases we say pants, but in the summertime we've seen otherwise. And in the wintertime, you're going to have layers of clothing that you're going to readily put on and take off because the conditions are going to change. It could be freezing cold in the morning. It could be soaking wet in the afternoon. You're not really sure. And so as a part of our tailgate safety, we make sure that our guys have proper footwear, proper personal protective equipment that is clean and ready to go, as well as a cleanup protocol, which usually involves a clean towel and a water source.